The news is live from our studios here at Joy 99.7 FM in Accra, also on Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi. Affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions, including Clenham Radio in Bator, Radio Justice in the northern region, A1 Radio in the upper east, Radio Sangmal in the upper west, and Radio Marks in the western region. We're on ABN Radio in London and around the world at myjoyonline.com. We're also live from digital address GA099334, where we're celebrating 25 years of impactful journalism. Up in this edition, landlord who shot and killed his tenant over rent issues, provisionally charged with murder as police investigates the motive.
The suspect is now in police custody. For now, the provisional charge the police is holding him for is the charge of murder.
We have details as the murder suspect justifies the act, insisting it was in self-defense.
As I said, I wouldn't like to have no comment unless legal representation, but as I'm here, I acted in self-defense.
We have more for you in this package. Also, we'll hear from the family of the deceased who say they saw it coming. Also, a Central MP discourages investors and young university graduates from venturing into farming. We'll find out why.
Applicants for 1 billion cedi stimulus package will not be required to submit any collateral to secure the facility. Details in 15 minutes.
And the incredible story of a 95-year-old World War II veteran who has raised over £16,000 to support frontliners in the fight against COVID-19.
We went to Burma to fight a physical war. There you see the enemy. Now we are faced with another war, a visible war.
I have details of these and other stories in the package. Thank you for joining me this morning. Now, a landlord who shot and killed his tenant at Ofanko here in Accra over rent issues has been provisionally charged with murder. Police is currently investigating if there's any other reason why Victor Steve Nana Kankam allegedly shot and killed his tenant for allegedly refusing to move out of a 2-bedroom apartment following the expiration of his rent. The suspect tells Joy News the act was in self-defense.
My full name is Victor Stephen Nana Kankam Ni Konim Anukba III Obu Schroeder. As I said, I wouldn't like to have no comment unless legal representation, but as I'm here, I acted in self-defense.
But sister and father of the deceased, now identified as Benjamin Ochri, are demanding swift action, revealing they saw signs of the action.
My brother was in the room folding his things when he heard a knock on the door. He called a servant to check who it was, only to see the landlord. He offered the landlord a seat, and that was what instigated the gunshot. I would have gladly paid the landlord if my brother owed him, but he just killed my brother. The issue is now in the hands of the law. We just want justice served.
My son told me that he had a dream, and in the dream his landlord held him at gunpoint and they struggled over it and he took the gun. I then told him to move out of the house because it's not a good place. He called me saying the landlord brought a letter and the landlord came with 2 guns wearing a bulletproof and shot him at the gate.
So you heard the sister and father of the deceased speaking to as well Accra Region Police Public Relations Officer DSP Efiatenge shares updates of a case with Joy News.
The police have already begun investigations into why the landlord, we know for now, committed this crime, and he hasn't been able to tell us any reason. So he's in police custody and he's still assisting police in investigations. We know a murder has been committed and we are trying as much as we can to put all our evidences together. For now, the provisional charge the police is holding him for is the charge of murder.
You hear the Accra Region Public Relations Officer DSP Efiatenge. Let's head to Parliament now because the chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee, Frank Anodompe, is urging caution over calls for government to open the borders for Ghanaians stranded abroad because of COVID-19 to come in. The minority in Parliament, showbiz personalities and some Ghanaians stranded abroad have called on the president to grant them limited entry. But Mr. Anodompe says countries that have pursued that path have regretted in the end.
Government would have to put together preparations, especially in terms of quarantine. Otherwise, we will be pursuing a path of clumsiness where we will just go out there and bring everybody. I hear our minority say that, okay, let's open the borders for a fleeting period. Now, you cannot tell an authority the number of people who will come in, even if the borders are open on a fleeting basis. If for nothing at all, we have the benefit of hindsight. Countries who have moved in hurriedly to pick their nationals, they have suffered huge losses. Let's all allow the government to go through the processes as it shows.
Frank Anobrompe there, he is a chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee. We stay in the House a while longer because the minority in Parliament is chastising the Finance Minister for not releasing monies allocated in the 2020 budget for the desilting of drains to the Ministry of Works and Housing. Former Deputy Works and Housing Minister Samson Ahi says the situation is putting the lives of Ghanaians in danger as the rainy season approaches, warning it will result in mass floods.
From the checks I've made at the Ministry of Works and Housing, even commencement certificate has not been released to the Ministry of Works and Housing, let alone processing contracts to be awarded so that choke gutters can be desilted. So I want to use this medium to appeal to the President to personally intervene so that they can start awarding contracts for the choke gutters to be desilted. Otherwise, when the rain sets in, all of us will be in trouble.
Samson Ahi is a former Deputy Works and Housing Minister. Away from Parliament, prison authorities in the Ashanti region are strengthening anti-COVID-19 protocols at the various facilities to prevent any unpleasant situations. It comes as one inmate at the Ankafo Maximum Security Prison tested positive for the virus, forcing authorities to quarantine 7 officers who came into contact with the infected person. Nana Senso Mensah has more in this report.
Increased safety measures became needful after an inmate of Ankafo prison tested positive. Regional Director DDP Osan Ponsa says the command is exploring all safety measures to ensure zero infection across the facilities.
We have put in place the protocols. We followed them and we make sure that anybody who comes here to visit, the person should go through that protocol before we allow the person to get in. Set aside a place where we observe them for 21 days before we allow them to integrate with the other inmates.
Head of the female prisons at the Central Command, ADP Christiana Siodi says the pandemic has drastically reduced the frequency of visits and even donations.
The challenge we have is how to feed the inmates. We are appealing to the public. You know, before the COVID, people come to visit us. But now because of the COVID, people are afraid. Nobody wants to go anywhere. But we are appealing to them that we have put in measures so that if you want to donate to us, you can still come in. We, the officers, will front up and then receive the donation on behalf of the inmates.
Meanwhile, Jackson Educational Complex has donated anti-COVID-19 sanitary materials to the Kumasi Central Prisons, and similar gesture was made to the Regional Police Command.
Nana Senso Mensah's report there. Let's do one of our top stories. And the lone surviving Ghanaian soldier from World War II has ended a walk to raise money for doctors and nurses on the front line of Ghana's COVID-19 response. Private I.T. Hammond, now 95 years, took inspiration from 100-year-old Captain Tom Moore. He too, a World War II veteran soldier who has recently walked to raise millions in donations for Britain's National Health Scheme. Joy News' Justice Baidu followed him all week, and here's his report.
My name is Joseph Ashitai Hammond. I was born 10th May 1925. During my school days, whenever I saw soldiers, I was always inspired.
Private Hammond is one of the last men standing, one of the very few with first-hand account of how the Second World War happened.
There was one time when the Japanese actually came in hundreds. Once you are hearing it means human beings falling.
Now, 75 years after the war, he set his eyes on another battle, coronavirus, working to raise funds to support the men and women at the forefront of Ghana's response against the global pandemic.
Now we are faced with another war. You won't see the enemy, but the enemy will attack you. So this is why I've decided to raise plenty of money to enable us to help the frontline workers.
Over a week, Private Hammond has been joined on his adventure by British envoy Ian Walker, hip life legend Ochiame Kwame, and movie star Jocelyn Duma.
We walked 2 miles. I reckon he could have walked 20 more. Quite an incredible man.
The military cemetery sits quietly only a few meters from the Oxford Street where Private Hammond has been walking all week. And it is here, in between the lush greens and the eerie quietness, that Ghana's fallen soldiers lie. Some stood in battle with him.
Justice